Could this be the reason that the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan? And if so, it's bad news for the U.S. dollar. Now, we're not getting into conspiracy theories here. We're going to read between the lines, speculate a little bit, and see how it relates to us and things that we can do to prepare for massive change that's already happening, massive change that has been happening, massive change that will be happening. And I guarantee you in this video, you're going to hear some theories and some ideas that do apply to you and do relate to you. It's not just news that you haven't seen anywhere else connected to why we're in the Middle East and why we just pulled out now. So if that sounds interesting to you, then welcome in, fam. Much love, Trav here. We're going to take a walk in the dog Saturday morning before I go to farmer's market here, and we're going to talk about Afghanistan. So hit that thumbs up. Now, brief history of the US dollar. US dollar was backed by gold up until about 1920, and then the gold became illegal for US citizens to own, no longer backed by dollars, pulled away. However, after World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement backed the US dollar with gold internationally. The US would hold everybody's gold because they won World War II, and everyone's other currencies would be pegged to the dollar, and the dollars would be pegged to gold. However, the US printed more money than they had gold to pay for, and it became obvious to the world through Vietnam and NASA that maybe they don't have the money. So France and some other countries, France actually sent a ship to collect its gold. 1971, Nixon said, temporarily suspending the convertibility of dollars for gold. That temporarily turned out to be forever. Obviously, when the government says temporarily, tends to be forever, as we've seen with COVID here. Possibly. I mean, it hasn't been that long, but just know that the dollar was suspended temporarily, and it's been since then. The US dollar lost a huge amount of value very quickly, but there's a new arrangement giving birth to what's known as the Petrodollar, where the U.S. made alliance with OPEC, oil-producing exporting countries, including Saudi Arabia. And the deal was that OPEC, these countries would only sell their oil for dollars, and in exchange, the U.S. would give them support, military support, and help them with lucrative arms deals, keep the shipping lanes clear, and so on. So benefit to the oil producing countries, benefit to the US, because the US can print dollars to buy oil, but every other company needs to trade for dollars to buy oil. Can't get dollars unless they trade for oil. Can't get oil unless they trade for dollars. Creates a global demand for dollars. And this is why it led to the US being really uncompetitive with exports and tempted to just print money for all of its solutions, which we've been doing since the 1970s, and really hasn't been to the benefit of the U.S. earning power, but has been to the benefit of U.S. consumption. So that's why when Saddam Hussein tried to sell oil for euros, we went in and squashed him. When Gaddafi tried to sell oil for a new kind of currency backed by the dollar, we went in and squashed him. And if you're wondering why we've been in the Middle East, there's a lot of reasons why we've been in the Middle East. So, a couple interesting pieces of news. Well, one is the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan, which we're going to get to in a moment. But what's really interesting is that at the end of August, no one's talking about this, but this is such big news. It's scary. Sort of to mark the end of the petrodollar arrangement, because a lot of OPEC in different countries have just been selling their oil for other currencies, the euro, and directly for Chinese currency, for instance. And the U.S. has sort of not been able to enforce it. So the need for U.S. dollars and the need for other countries to invest in U.S. treasuries and stuff like that is sort of collapsing. And what does that mean for the US dollar? Is just the global demand for it is getting less. Although there's still demand, there's so many debts to be paid that people need dollars for. So it's not like the dollar is going to be totally useless, but we're seeing a pretty big change. Now, the piece of news that came out end of August is Saudi Arabia signed a military arms agreement, or an arms agreement with Russia. They met outside of Moscow, and they're going to be buying arms from Russia, not from the US. So that just sort of marks the end of, or the beginning of the end, or really it's probably already ended, the sort of petrodollar arrangement. The U.S. isn't really able to enforce it, and the reason perhaps we're pulling out of Afghanistan, and I'm not saying we should be in there, but an interesting thought is that we pulled out of Afghanistan because we're going bankrupt. And I say we, I mean the U.S. It's really not we. The U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan because the U.S. is going bankrupt. Could be. What does it mean if the U.S. is going bankrupt? Well, what are some other signs the U.S. is going bankrupt? What would a bankrupting country be looking like? Raising inflation, check. Raising taxation, check. Yeah, I mean, printing more money, we're just causing inflation. Also check. Something to consider is boomers are retiring. Millennials hardly make any money. There's not enough in taxation to even cover Social Security, let alone the military, and all this other stuff. Just as a country, the government, I mean, we would see crumbling infrastructure. We'd see Flint, Michigan without water. We would see, right? What do we see when the Roman Empire started to decline? Well, it declined because of economic reasons. It declined because of cultural and spiritual reasons, but it declined because of economic reasons. The Romans couldn't afford to defend its empire anymore. The rewards of controlling such a large swath of territory was no longer worth the cost to the people, so they started raising taxes on land, making it just everything more expensive. They started clipping their gold coins, debasing them, inflating them. So classic inflation taxation. And they started to slowly defund and abandon their garrisons, especially on outside borders. Here goes our dogga. Especially, stop what you're doing and watch the dog for a moment. Check out these beautiful breadfruit trees. We got the mountains behind us. Saturday morning, I'm about to go work farmer's market, but I wanted to share this video with you because it's so interesting, it's so fascinating. So the Romans started to abandon their border garrisons, and that's as the barbarians started to come in. So Afghanistan is a sign of possibly the U.S. sort of abandoning their border posts abroad. It's not a conspiracy theory, but it is a speculation. Now, what would it mean for us? What should we do about it? Well, what is it? The idea is, okay, if the U.S. goes bankrupt, what does it mean for us? Okay, if the petrodollar arrangement is ending, what does it mean for us? So, if the petrodollar arrangement is ending, what it means is that the value of the U.S. dollar is going to go down compared to other foreign currencies. That would be a prediction based on that. Okay, so maybe the dollar wouldn't be the best store of value. We already talked about this a lot. Although, I mean, it may have some benefits because the petrodollar arrangement really hasn't benefited the American people. American people have gotten poorer and poorer since Nixon's announcement in 1971. And a lot of that is because the temptation to print money is just better than working actual jobs. So people don't have good jobs. American exports became pointless when you can just export dollars that you print. So if the U.S. is no longer the reward currency, it's possible we would see manufacturing come back to the U.S. I know people think they're above manufacturing, labor, industry, factory jobs, but they would pay and possibly people's standards of living would go up. That's the optimistic What would a bankrupting country do? Well, we already talked about it. Inflation, taxation, increasing control. You would experience diminishing returns on what you're getting for what you're paying for the government. You would see it seems like you're paying more and more and receiving less and less. And the government's becoming more and more intrusive. Signs of a bankrupting government also are a lagging of government programs, which we're seeing. Have you guys got your tax returns yet? I haven't, and it's September, almost October, right? Who has driving with expired tags or their licenses out, and they tried to schedule it, and it's got pushed back, or there's nothing available, right? The government just lagging, can't get it together. They can't do their basic stuff, right? Those would be signs of the government sort of bankruptcy. Non-compliance, right? In terms of, it'd be interesting to see. I don't have a prediction either way, but with these vaccine mandates, it's going to be interesting to see how much compliance, how much civil disobedience there will be. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. I'm telling you to look out for what the answer is. Lots of disobedience and the government's inability to control the situation is a sign of loss of power and loss of control. Donald J. Trump being blocked by Twitter and Facebook is a sign of the government losing control. Not necessarily a sign of the government going bankrupt, though. So that's a lot to think about. Those are some signs. What does it mean for you? Same things that we've been talking about. It means that you need to be clever and you need to be clear and you need to navigate the situation so you can see what may happen, what might not happen. You can make changes. You might need to move tax jurisdictions. You might need to move countries in the next 30, 40 years. You may have forced emigration. There may be war. There's going to be new inventions, new trends that you can hop upon and become extremely wealthy, or you can miss out on. What else? There will, so being clear, being smart, having time to meditate, having time to think, actually reading some news to understand what's going on in the world is a good thing, I believe, because it does relate to you. If you're a global thinker, that helps. Reading books. Being sober is a huge thing. I always talk about this. You don't want to be drunk when the apocalypse comes. You don't want to be hungover when it's time to emigrate. You don't want to be high when it's time for you to make a quick decision on a new piece of technology, a new opportunity, a new trend that you could jump upon. You don't want to be spending your money reliant on some kind of chemical dependency when there's new investment classes that could make you millions of dollars. So these are some examples of reasons for you to be sober, which I think is very important. Come on, dog. Get it. Get it. Okay, another is to level up your skills as much as possible. Have a mix of skills, not just one thing. If you're skilled at one thing, it can get invalidated quickly by new technology or new shifts, new trends, the global marketplace, information age, technology, changing of sectors. So just always keep learning, but keep stacking skills, adding new skills. It's not enough to know how to do one thing well anymore. You want to know how to do many things adequately. That's going to help you adjust to a vastly changing world and make more money so that you can do the things that you want to do. Stay healthy. It's tempting and hard not to get distracted by social media, by dopamine fix addiction, quickly jumping on the computer and checking your phone and it's trying to get your attention. They're trying to sell your attention to marketing. They're not your friends. Thanks for watching this video, but the advertisers are really not your friends. If you don't know what the product is you. The stuff isn't free, it's costing your attention, so make sure it's valuable. If you're watching this video, I really hope it's valuable for you. But yeah, you get outside, get some sunshine, stay healthy, enjoy life, work with animals if you can, learn how to grow food, volunteer your time on the farm. You don't need to become a farmer. Volunteer at the community garden, learn some skills on. It'd be nice to know how to how to butcher and slaughter, right? How to raise your own livestock. These are things that'd be pretty nice to be able to do if it came down to it. How to save your money. It's not an investment, but you should, if you haven't done it already, you should really think about holding your wealth in Bitcoin. It's not an investment, it's a technological revolution, like how we've seen the printing press disrupt, come on dog, the printing press disrupted the church because it disrupted their stranglehold on information and the printed word. Social media has disrupted the government because it's disrupted their stranglehold on discourse and the news. And now we're seeing that cryptocurrency, it's already doing, it's disrupting the central bank's control of money. So we can just look at these parallels. Do you think the internet is just going to turn around and stop? Or do you think cryptocurrency is just going to turn around and stop? It's not. So if you haven't been paying attention, or you think, oh, it's just a fad, like it's going to zero, you're missing out on a technological revolution. That's also a really easy way to change your lot in life, where the printing press, it's not easy to capitalize on that. You have to be a skilled writer. The internet, it's not easy to capitalize on that. You need to be a skilled investor or a skilled programmer. It's super easy to capitalize, and it's been super easy to capitalize on the cryptocurrency revolution. Just a little bit of awareness is all that's been needed. Really, a little bit of capital to deploy. So those are just some ideas to get you going of, okay, if we're pulling out of Afghanistan, could it be because the U.S. is going bankrupt? What are some signs the U.S. is going bankrupt? If the U.S. is going bankrupt, what are some things you can do to prepare yourself to be in a good spot? And I want you to realize that even if we're totally wrong on this, the U.S. is in a great spot and everything's going great, that these things that you're doing are going to help you go from successful to more successful. It's not going to hurt you to be sober, or it's not going to hurt you to be leveling up your skills. It's not going to hurt you to be interested and invested in new technologies. So hope you find this helpful. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching this video. We got more stuff like this coming. Please hit the thumbs up. Those of you who watch this video to the very end, if you're watching right now, I'm still accepting a couple one-on-one clients. If you want help in your life, either becoming sober, saving, making more money, navigating the right career decisions, relationship decisions, figuring out where to live, any of these, especially if you're doing okay but want to do better, then there's a link down below to life coaching you can sign up for. Yeah, it's not for everyone and it's not infinite spots. So if you're interested, go click on the form, the life coaching link, fill out the form now, schedule a time to talk to me, and we'll talk soon. Okay? Appreciate you. Much love. Look forward to talking to you. And have yourself a wonderful time. Have yourself a wonderful week. Let's get it. It's a crazy time, but you can turn out great. I believe in you. It's a time with tons of opportunity. So let's get it. Okay? Peace.